All right, this is Unit 3, Lesson 3. We're converting in the imperial system. So the imperial system is all about yards, inches, feet, and miles. Miles is also in this crew. So it says, when we talk about these are called reference. Okay, these things right here are called reference. So it says the width of your thumb is approximately about an inch. Or sometimes if you got skinny fingers, they could say the width of two fingers side by side. That's called a reference. Okay. It says these were way important when it was back in the day when we didn't have measuring sticks and the king needed to know approximately how far things were. So a distance from your heel to your big toe, that was considered a foot, so the size of your foot. Now, if you wanted to say how big is a person's foot, your foot is about from your elbow to your wrist. So that's also what's called another referent, from your elbow to your wrist, okay? So we're talking about reference. Thank you. All right. So now it says, when we take a look, a yard is about your stride. So when we take a look at a yard, those are like those meter sticks. Back in the day, they're called yard sticks. They're also called meter sticks. All right. It says, and he's even talking about this. It says in 1824, we standardized a lot of these reference. So they standardized them in the early 1800s. They called it the imperial system. The reason it was called the imperial system, again, it was because the imperial kings. So it was based on the king. That's why they named it that way. So it says SI, the metric system, is what we use in Canada. So the only place that actually uses it is the US and one or two other countries in the world. They're the only ones that use inch, feet, yards. They use the imperial system. We use metric here. We go centimeters, millimeters, meters, kilometers. That's why all of our distances on the maps and on our traffic signs are all in kilometers. Down in the US, it's all in miles. You can buy vehicles, and so on your speedometer on your vehicle, it says kilometers on the outside, and on the inside of that wheel, it says miles. So you can convert between the two. So we see that about 60 miles an hour is about 100 miles or kilometers an hour. So they're very close together. So this is what we tell us. It says 1 foot is about 12 inches. And we get that from Subway, right? From Subway, we know that 1 foot long sub is a 12-inch sub. A half of a sub is a 6-inch sub, right? A yard is 3 feet. That's something we need to understand. And a mile is 1,760 yards. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an M here, MI for miles, a YD for yards, FT for feet, and IN for inches. All right. And now, if I want to convert, this is our conversion chart. We're going to be converting. So either we're going to be dividing or multiplying by numbers in this chart. So we're going to say 1 foot is 12 inches. Okay, 1 foot is 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 feet. Okay, so 1 yard is 3 feet. So 3 feet. Now, 3 feet, what's 3 times 12? We're going to go 3 times 12 to get 36 inches. So we're taking this number times this number. Those two make this number. So 12 times our 3 makes our 36 inches. Then we're talking miles. So for miles, it tells us right up here it's equal to that many yards. So I'm going to put 1,760 yards. Now, there's 3 feet in a yard, so I'm going to take 3 times 1,760, and that's going to give me this number. So that means 5,280. So 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. Now we're going to go even lower. We're going to break it up into inches. So for inches, we've got, where is it here? 36 times 5280, and that's going to give us 63,360 inches. So this becomes our conversion chart. Okay, this becomes our conversion chart. So here's an example of a conversion. Example, 25 inches. I want to know how many yards that makes. So what I would do is you start at the top. So this is your top one. So I would put my finger above inches, and then I would find yards on the left, and I would bring them down and find the number I multiply by. So this is the number. Now, is it going to be multiplying or dividing? It depends on which way we're going. Are we converting inch to yard or yard to inch? So if we are going this way, up is timesing. So if we're going up, we're timesing. If we're going down, we're dividing. So if we go down the chart, we divide. So if I take a look here, it says inches then to yard. I'm going inches going down to yards. So what am I going to do? Multiply or divide. If I'm going down, I'm going to divide. So here I'm going to take my number, 25, and I'm going to divide, I'm timesing. My bad. Inches to, where are we going? Inches to yards. Yeah, inches to yards. I'm dividing by 36. All right, it's going to be a decimal. That's okay. So 25 divide 36. And it is dividing. We're going to get 0.138 repeating yards. It is a divide question. If you've got the answer key to the notes, in the notes, I wrote this as a times and got the wrong answer. This is a divide. So make sure if you've got the answer key notes, you change that to dividing, not multiplying. So that should be your proper answer. Now, it's going to tell us whether or not we're going to be multiplying or dividing depending on the direction we're going. So if we go up the chart, we are multiplying. If we go down the chart, we're dividing. All right, turn your page and we're going to do some of these categories here. Lazy over there. So it says 3.5 miles. So it's giving us our starting number, and we're going to convert it to yards. Then we're going to take the same number, convert to feet, then the starting number, converting to inches. So for each one of these, I'm going to start with my 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. Now I see if I'm going up or down the chart. When I take a look at this, miles is at the bottom. I'm going up to yards. I'm going up, so I'm timesing. So on this one, I'm going to say timesing by 1760. That's miles to yards, and we're getting that number right here. 1 mile equals that many yards. Okay? Then we're going to take the same amount of miles. Okay? We're timesing it now by what for feet? So now we're moving across, and we're going to times it by 5280. So times 5280 gives us feet. Then we're going to times it by 63,360 to get inches. So we're timesing by all three of those numbers. Okay? So this one we get, the first guy should give us 6,160. Okay? Make sure you're writing down all this stuff I'm showing you so that you know the steps to do when you get questions like that. Okay, so write down all your steps. All righty. So now, in feet, we're going to have 18,480 feet on that one. The next guy, we're going to get a lot. 221,760 inches. Okay? So 221,760 inches. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing with the next question. We're going miles to yards, then miles to feet, and miles to inches. So since it's the exact same thing, all I need to do is take my starting number and I times by the numbers that I just did. 1760 times 5280 times 63360. Okay? Those are the numbers again we're getting from our chart. Now, the reason we're multiplying is because we're going from miles, which is on the bottom, and we're going to yards, then miles to feet, then miles to inches. That's why, because we're going up, we're multiplying. So now, this is going to give us an answer of 45,760. 137,280. 1,647,360. Okay, so that's the letters for B. Your own. All right. So now we got yards. So we take our original number, yards to feet, times 3. Yards, original yards to inches, times 36. So where am I getting these numbers? Yards. Yards to feet, yards to inches. That's where these numbers are coming from. Okay, they're coming from the chart. So that's going to give me 30 feet and 360 inches. The next one, same idea, yards to feet times 3. Yards, 475. Yards to inches is going to be timesing 36. So that's going to give us 1425 for feet and 17,100 for inches. So as you notice, the inches are much bigger numbers than the feet, which means it takes more inches to make that same amount. Okay, that's what that's talking about. All right, when you've got that written down, turn your page. Okay, 9 feet to inches. Now we're going feet to inches. Always find where the number 1 is. 1 foot equals 12 inches. So if you look on the chart, we're going feet to inch going up. That means still going up means multiplying. So here we're going to go 8 times 12. That's going to give us 96. And again, feet to inches, we're going to times by 12. So 90 times 12 is 1,080. So 1080. Now we're going to go backwards. Now we're going to start with the smaller units and work down. If we're going to work down, we're going to be dividing. Okay, so on these next ones, you're going to write your first ones. Did everybody get those 2 down? Maybe you got those 2 down? Yeah. Okay. All right, so now on this one, we have inches. So inches is way up here. We have to go to miles. We're going down, so we're going to divide by that number. So we're going to take our original number. Let's write our original number, 440, divided by, the fraction line means divide, 63360. Again, we start with our original number for this one, 440, 253440. And again, we're going to be dividing because we're moving up the chart. So when we divide, we're going to get exactly 4 miles. So that many inches gives us 4 miles. Okay, so 4 miles takes a lot of little baby inches to make that long. Okay, yards, we're dividing by 36. Okay, because we're going inches to yards, inch to yard. So find inch to yard, 36. And we're going down. So that's going to be 7,040 yards. And now we're going to feet. So this time we're going to divide by 12 because inches to feet is a 12. So we're dividing by 12. That's going to give us 21,120 feet. Okay? So some of the numbers you have to divide, some you have to multiply. It depends on which way you're going in the chart, either up or down. The next one, same idea. We're going to write our first number, 665280. 665280. That's our starting number, 665280. And now we're dividing by the numbers we did just above. Same thing. 63360. Divide 36. Divide 12. Okay, so that's what we're doing on the next section. So how many of those are we going to get? How many miles? Who knows? How many miles are we going to get on B? Let your fingers do the walking on your calculator. How many miles? Sorry? It is 10.5. So we get 10.5 miles. Okay, divide the next one to find your yards. Divide the next one, find yards. You're going to get a lot, 5 digits.
It's 18,400.
You are on it. Yeah, you bet. 18,480, you bet. Okay, the next one, divide by 12. We're dividing by smaller numbers each time, so our answers are getting bigger, and that's okay. So this time we should get 55,440. Okay, on letter C, we're only going feet to miles, feet to yards. So we need to write our number over here, 36960. All right, feet, starting at feet, and you're going to miles. Feet to mile, I'm moving down, so I'm dividing. So dividing feet to miles. What am I dividing by? 5,280. Where did I get that number? Right here. 1 foot is how many miles? 5,280. Find the 1 and go straight down. 5,280. And because you're going down in the chart, that means you're dividing. Okay, how many miles do we get from that? 7. Good job. We get 7 miles. All right. Take the next one. And now this time we are dividing by 3. We're dividing by 3. Because feet to yards, we find 1 foot. Feet to yards is 3. We're moving down. The number is 3. That's going to give us 12,320 yards. Okay, now we want feet to miles. Same as we just did on the previous question. So dividing by 5,280, and then our original number, dividing by 3. Okay, let's figure those ones out. So again, these are conversions coming from our chart, and you have to know if you're going up or down the chart. Alrighty. So now on this guy, we should get 5.2 miles, and then 91.52 for yards. 91.52. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, make sure you get everything copied down properly. Whether you're multiplying or dividing, that's the part that matters. Because whether you're going up or down on your scale on the chart, that's going to tell you whether you multiply or divide. Okay, so we're going to finish up our single conversions. We want feet to inches. We're going to times it by 12 to give us 72 inches. Miles to yards. going up the scale, so we are multiplying by 1760. And that's going to give us 60,720 yards. Okay, make sure you've got everything copied properly, and then we're going to get into double conversions. Okay, now we're talking double conversions. Double conversions takes 3 steps. Okay, yes, 3 steps. Okay, so we want 57 inches. The first step we're going to do, step 1, we are going to take 57, the original number. We are going to divide it by 12. This comes from the chart. Okay, whether you're going to multiply, divide, or whatever number you're using, that comes from the chart, that part. So that gives us our answer, 4.75. This will always give you a decimal answer. Step 2 says the number in front of the decimal is the first blank. So I know this guy is a 4 now. Okay? So the number from my decimal, the number in front. So this number 4, that goes to my decimal. And now we do the opposite of step 2 or step 1. Now we do opposite of step 1 using the number on the first blank. Okay, so this step is going to do this, 4, and now I'm doing opposite of this. I'm doing opposite of that. That's what's going to go here, opposite. So instead of dividing by 12, I'm going to times by 12. Okay, that's going to give me 48. Your last step, step 3, is to find your second blank. That second blank, to fill it in, means you take your starting number, starting or original number, then subtract step 2. Subtract step 2. So we would get, for a number, we started with 57, we subtract 48, and this gives us our leftovers. The leftovers is our last blank. So this leftovers part here, that is this part. Okay? So 57 subtract 48 is 9. So I know now that number for my second blank is a 9. So there's 3 steps. Okay? We're going to do the next question a lot quicker. I'm not going to write out all of those words. We're just going to write the digits. Okay, so now this guy's actually A, this guy's actually B. So A is 90 inches. So I'm just going to rewrite A right here. 90 inches. I want it to go to feet and inches. Okay, I'm doing A. I'll do B over here. B is going to be 172 inches equals how many feet, how many inches. Okay. So we're doing every single one of those steps. So the first step says, do your first conversion. So I want inch to feet. So inch to feet, I'm going down, I'm dividing. So in my first step on this one, step 1 is take your original number and then do what the chart tells you. In this case, my chart is telling me divide 12. I get my answer, 7.5. The number I want from that answer is that 7. That's my first blank. Okay, that's going to fill in my first blank. So I know my first blank is a 7. Okay, step 2 says take that 7 and now do the opposite of what you did above. So I'm going to times by 12 now. So I times by 12 instead of divide by 12. And how come? Because you're doing the opposite step of what was right directly above. You're doing the opposite step. So if you were dividing first, now you're timesing. So now we times by 12, we're going to get 84. Last step, take your original number, subtract step 2, 84. This gives you your leftovers. Okay, that's my leftovers. And that's your last blank. So that gives me 6. So I know I'm going to have a 6 as my last blank there. Okay, so it does take 3 steps. The first step you find from the chart. Second step, you do the opposite. Last step, you find the leftovers. So step 1 here, we take our original number. Inch to feet going down is dividing. So I'm going to divide by 12. So in step 2, I know I'm timesing by 12. I'm doing the opposite. Okay, here's that opposite again. I'm doing these opposites. Okay, when I divide by 12, the digit I'm going to get is 14.3 repeating. I don't care what the decimal on the end is. I want the digit in front. So the number 14 is my original feet. So that number in front, this one right here, is that number. And that number gets put right there. Whoops, right here. Okay, so now I start with my 14 that I just found. I times it by 12. I get 168. My last step is to take my original, subtract the answer from step 2. That's going to give me 4. So I know my leftovers are 4. So we get 14 feet, 4 inches. Okay, so 14 feet, 4 inches. I'll give you a minute to write those down. Go. Feet to yards. So I want yards and feet. So now, feet, if I look at my chart, feet to yards is a 3, but am I going up or down? Feet to yards is going down. Down is divide. So I'm going to, step 1 is take my original, I divide by 3. So I know in step 2, I'm timesing by 3. And step 3, I use my original number, subtract. So this part we know already. You're able to fill that part out already, okay? Now we go to finish the rest of the steps. So it says if I divide by 3, I'm going to get 8.6 repeating. All I want is the 8. The 8 is my number, so I use him. Now I times him by 3. I get a 24. I'm just going to use a different color on that one. I get a 24 there. That number goes down here to subtract because my leftovers are going to go up in my answer. Okay, so 3 quick steps. As soon as it'll do play. Come on. Okay, everyone, here we go. We're taking 184, dividing 3. We're going to get 61.3 repeating. The only number I'm worried about is the 61. So I have 61. So that's the number that goes down in my second step. I take that 61. Now I times it by 3. I do the opposite. That's going to give me 183. That number goes to step 3 to find me my leftovers, which is 1. So that would be 61 yards and 1 foot. So 61 yards and 1 foot. Okay, now I've got feet and yards again, 500 feet. This will give me 166.6 repeating. Again, I only use the number in front of the decimal. So I use 166. I times it by 3. I'm going to get 498. That's the number I subtract in step 3. And that's going to give me a little 2. So I have a 2 left over. On the second section here, we're going to go yards to miles. Now, yard to mile is going to be the 1760, and I'm going down, so I'm dividing. So for this step 1, I take my original 23,496, and I'm dividing by 1760. So that means in step 2, I'm timesing by 1760. Step 3, I use my original number, and I'll be subtracting the answer from number 2. So now we actually do the question. So I do my dividing. I'm going to get 13.35. The number I want is the 13. That's the number that goes to step 2. I do my multiplying. I get 22,000. Whoa. Okay, so we get 22,880. So now I go 22880 and I subtract. That gives me my leftovers, and I have 616 as a leftover. So that tells me I have 13 miles and 616 yards. Okay, so on the next one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to put B over here, 36085. Yards is miles and yards. Okay. We're going to use this guy as A. Okay, so same rules. So step 1, I take my original number, 15,000 yards. I divide by 1760. That means in step 2, I'm going to be timesing by 1760. 3, I take my original number and I subtract. So we take a look at the next 2 examples. We start with our original 15,000. We're going yards to miles again. So the first one is dividing. We're going to get 8.52. Again, the number I want is the 8. So I put my 8 in step 2. Now I multiply. I get 14,080. That's the number I subtract here. And that's going to give me my leftovers. I get 920 left over. So 920 left over. The next question, we're dividing by the exact same numbers. We take our original. We're going to get 20.5. I want the 20. That number goes to step 2. I multiply. I get 35,200. I subtract the 35,200, and I'm going to get 885 left over. That goes up in my last blank, 885. Okay, we have 3 last quick examples to complete the lesson. All right, last 3 examples. We have 3 last examples. Here we go. This one, we're going inches to feet. Okay, our last one, inches to feet. Step 1, take your original 251. We're dividing by 12. We're going to get 20.9. The number I want is my 20. That's the number that goes to step 2. Now I times it by 12 to give me 240. That's the number that goes to step 3 that I subtract from my original. 240. And that gives me my leftovers. Okay, my leftovers go to my last blank. So let's write our next 3 steps. Step 1, step 2, whoopsie, step 3. I wrote 2 twice, oh well. Okay, so we start with our original number, 850. We're going to divide 12. Oh no, we want to go feet to yards. Hang on, that's not the right number. Okay, feet to yards. We're dividing 3 this time. That means we're going to times 3 in the last step, or second step. Last step, 850 minus step 2. Okay. So we're going to get 283.3 repeating. So I want my 283. 283 goes here, and I times it by 3 now. And that gives me 849. That's the number I subtract. And I have 1 left over, which is my answer on top. I get 1 left over. Last question. Now we're going yard to miles. So we start with our 10,000. Going yards to miles, we're going to divide by 1760, which means in the next step, I'm timesing by 1760. So now I do my dividing, I get 5.6, etc. All I want is my 5. That number goes to step 2. I times it by 1760, I get 8,800. That's the number I subtract in step 3. Whoops, 8,800. That's going to give me a difference of 1,200, which is my leftovers. So 1,200 yards. This concludes lesson 3.